Hey, welcome guys. So today's video is a part of a playlist called Unusual Snowmen DIYs, and this is an open playlist being hosted by Amanda from 6 Kids and a Glue Gun, as well as Jackie from Crafting in Mimi's World. DIY, or for the first snowman, I'm using a scrap foam. Here I just used a plastic tin cover to trace out the size on the foam and then cut that out. Then I placed them down on this sheet of poster paper, or make sure to trace out the both pieces connecting as one, and then I glued them down. And after I glued them down, I took some pieces of craft sticks, and that's just to hold it up for support. And then here I'm taking some yarn, white yarn. I got this from the Dollar Tree. And first what I did, I placed some glue in the center, and I'm just going around in a donut shape. And I did that until I covered all of it. And I thought of doing it the same way for the bottom section, but then I changed my mind and decided to change my strategy for the bottom half. So to cover the sides, I cut strips of the yarn wide enough to cover that, and then I glued them on right around until I came back to where I started. And doing it this way was also challenging, but it was much easier this way than to do it the way I did it for the front. Now after I got that done, now I knew that I didn't want to do it the circular shape or the circular format anymore, so I decided to cut strips of the yarn and tape them down together, so that would give me more leverage and more ease of gluing them down. So I put strips or pieces together, taped them down to hold them in place, and then I glued that down. And this worked out to be much easier or less tedious than how I had done the top. So once I glued the top down, I just spread some hot glue in the center, and I did that until everything was covered. Now forgive my cord right there, I was trying to voice while I was crafting. Here I'm using a piece of scarf I picked from the 79-cent store last year. I just cut a piece of it, which I'm going to be making is hat out of. So I cut what I needed and glued down the ends and turned the bottom over. And then I'm just going to put it on his head now to just give me an idea as to how much room I need to cover his head. I then took a piece of jute twine and tied that at the top. Now I'm just fitting it on top of his head and making sure that it is fitting snug. And I think my little snowman is beginning to get a character. Now then I took another piece of the fabric and cut a scarf. And then I'm just tacking it down or gluing it down with a little hot glue. Now here are some googly eyes from the Dollar Tree, and I just selected 2 small ones and glued them on. And here I just took a piece of Chanel stem, made his mouth, and another piece of Chanel stem, a red piece, made his nose. And there was a little gap right under his chin that where I had put the stick was showing, so I just cut a piece of the scarf to cover that. Now in order for him to stand, I took 2 small cubes, wooden cubes, and glued those on. And our little snowman is all ready. Now I think he's looking so cute. Now I could have given him some arms, but then decided to leave him armless. Now for this one, I had this piece of scrap wood and I took some acrylic white paint, gave that 2 coats, and then I'm just covering area that I don't want to get painted. And then I'm using this Waverly black ink paint, and I'm going to be painting that all around at the top, making sure all of those areas are covered. I'm also painting this craft stick, and that's going to form the trim for his hat. And I'm only painting the top side. I'm leaving where the glue is going, I'm leaving that section unpainted. I then took my heat gun, because I can't wait for this to dry. Took my heat gun and dried that. And here I am going to be gluing down the craft stick. Glue that on. And I'm using the same Waverly chalk paint in black to just paint in the eyes, as well as his smile. And I made 2 snowmen like this last year, but they were much bigger. I'll leave that card at the top where you can see that video. And I took a piece of cardboard, cut the nose out, painted that in orange and glued that on. And I think this little snowman is beginning to look like his bigger brother, but on a much slimmer scale. I then took some Mod Podge and just glossed over that and dried it with the heat gun. I had this small ribbon, red ribbon, which I actually found it because I've been going around and scrounging for stuff. I can't seem to find ribbons when I want them. But I found this, and I'm just tying it around his waist for his scarf. Use a bead of hot glue to hold that in place. I'm then using a few of these leaves from this holly garland, and our little snowman is ready. This is a bonus, or should I say a baby snowman. I found these 2 bottle caps, and I'm just gonna paint them white. Same acrylic white paint, and I gave them 2 coats and dried it with the heat gun. And when it was dried, I'm now applying some Mod Podge. So I took a piece of that same red ribbon, which I'm gonna be using as a scarf. Now for his hat, I took a piece of the Chanel stem, fold that in a circle somewhat, and glue that on top of his head for his hat. And to get the top part of the hat, I wrapped the other piece around the pencil to give me some height. And then I'm going to be gluing that on there. I wrapped the scarf around him, tack that down with some hot glue. Here I'm going in again with that same black chalk paint, painting in the eyes, and I'm giving him a half a moon smile rather than slanted like what I did for the one previously. The same acrylic orange paint in pumpkin for his nose, and he is done. And here are our big brother and little brother. Off camera, I glued him onto a piece of craft stick so that he could stand up. Now this one is a bonus because I thought I was done, and then I could not find the clip for the wooden pumpkin. And so I had to, last minute, do this one. So here I'm using 2 pumpkins that one I'd painted for another DIY, one I'd already DIY in another video. And I'm just using these. I'm going to be applying some white paint. And then I took a bottle cap from my spray glue, and I'm just tracing out that twice. I'm going to cut that out. And this is going to form the base for his hat. And once I have that cut out, I then took a piece of poster paper I just wanted to pop in here again and remind you of the playlist and the host channels that are linked in my description box below. All right, Christine, back on track. So what I'm doing, I'm just cutting down strips of the same scarf fabric, and I'm going to be wrapping it around the circle, and that is forming the trim for the hat. And then I'm going to be gluing in the paper and then glue on the top. So now we have our snowman hat all done. And here I'm just taking another piece of that same fabric, tying it at the front as a scarf. I'm gonna dovetail the end of this. And I'm taking two of the googly eyes again. I just cut them out. And then I'm taking one of the berry from the garland, the holly garland, and use that for his nose. And then after I put that on, I'm using some of the same black paint to paint in his mouth. These buttons, I had planned to use them to make him quite fancy, but I changed my mind. But after looking at it, I realized that the eyes were too big, so I took them off and used some smaller ones. I then got a piece of Christmas twig, cut a strip of red from a piece of ribbon, and gave him a little fancy something in the top of his hat, and he's done. So there you have it, guys, 4 unusual snowmen for this video. Thank you so much for sticking around and watching to the end. Don't forget the other videos in the playlist and the host channels in the description box below. And if you like content like this one, please consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell so you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. And I recommend this video right here as well as this playlist. And stay safe.